So quick show of hands, how many people here are artists or art directors? Just curious, okay? And then how many people are on the producer side or business management side, CEOs? Okay, a good mix of both. So I chose this topic because it's something very close to me and my business and obviously Zach's business. And I wanted to, I mean, everybody's going to say art does matter, we like games that look good, but how does it impact the big areas, right? You hear, I mean, you hear about engagement, retention, and monetization. So I wanted to determine if there's any kind of like studies done where, you know, good art really wins out. It really does retain users better. So I asked a lot of our friends, our partners, and our clients. These are some of the top names in the industry, guys from Kabam, Kixeye, Zynga, Pocket Gems, and really fortunate to be working with these guys to hear what they had to say. So a lot of the material here, we may have worked on the game or may not have, but these are the experts. Okay, so specifically, we broke it down into 3 areas. The first area is user engagement retention. This is really to get awareness into the game. This is, I say, you know, before anybody's really playing the game. This is the ads, the icons, and I'll get into that. Design and monetization is focused more once you're in the game. And then branding and appeal is, do you remember the game after you played it? Are you aware of the game? So I think these are the 3 areas we're looking at where art impacts the games the most. So we'll start off with the first 3. We'll start off with ads. Okay, this is general awareness of the game before anybody plays it. So we start off by asking our friends at TapZen. TapZen, their game just launched a couple weeks ago. It's called This Means War. It's a great looking game, isometric view. It's akin to the Clash of Clans type of gaming. This is by a team that brought Empires and Allies to Zynga. And before that, they were Command & Conquer. So really, really good. We spoke with Matt Britton, their creative director, and he was very supportive. And so we start off by looking at ads to see what kind of awareness we could generate. So here are the 4 ads. So you got a vehicle up top left, 3D model, rendered in 2D. You got the splash painting to the right. You got a bottom left, another splash painting. It's got the word free on it. All 4 of them do, actually. And the bottom right's the bomber. So quick show of hands, who thinks the top left one tested the best? Top right one, big battle. I got a couple hands. Bottom left. Whoa, all the hands went up. Bottom right. Yes, we have one brave gentleman in the back. The bottom left people won. So this ad turned out to be the best one, right? And I started asking about, so in this case, I would say this probably took the longest time to render if we take a look. If you guys, the artists in the crowd, take a look at the render quality between the top right and bottom left, I think those 2 on the same par. I think we took maybe same amount of time painting those. The top left and the bottom right didn't test as well. So this is by number of impressions. Interesting enough, this also had the best click-through rate and lowest cost per click. So in this case, I would say that for this ad, the best render, but it wasn't just the best rendered, it was the best rendered image that contained the characters. People respond really well to characters. I'm going to come back to that point later on. So there's actually another slide in here too, but some of the things that didn't work for them, the word free didn't really have any meaningful impact. When they showed the game on an iPad or iPhone, where there's a little icon, you show the game within the game, people don't really care about that. They just want to see the image. And the ads performed pretty poorly among the casual gamers, but among the mid-core, it tested really well. People really like the general. People really like the 2 characters. And so that combo worked really well for them. So again, test everything. So in the case of This Means War, this ad looked really nice, right? So I wanted to see if you took an image that's maybe less rendered, less polished, and see if that made a meaningful difference. So we move on to Battle Camp. I don't know if you guys have heard of this game. It's another perennial top 50 grossing game, really successful by a company called Penny Pop here in San Francisco. They tested this game for 2 years before it came out. So you probably can't really see it. There's a whole lot more ads in this, but this gave you a pretty quick sample size. The images on the left and the top are vector images. The bottom right, the right side column are all best rendered, right? So you got a little group shot top right, and then bottom right is a splash painting. I believe this one was created from scratch. So well, I'm not going to make you guys do the test again, but I would have thought that maybe the little penguin, the bottom left, might have tested well. I would have thought the guys on the right tested well. That's what I would have thought, right? but I'm kind of biased. I like looking at pretty artwork. Actually, these are the two winners. So I thought it was interesting because from an art point of view, the top image doesn't look that well rendered. It's not, it's not really heavily shaded, but it's Roar, one of their most popular characters. But what I took away from this was that the top image showed a little bit of gameplay. People like the match 3, right? And then the bottom right one, which was helpful for my study, which is I would say is probably the best rendered image, okay? So the takeaway for me there is, first of all, test everything. And then secondly, the best rendered image does seem to have an impact on people, on users, and but also knowing how to use that image, right? Whether it applies to the game. In this case, showing a little bit of gameplay. So let's look at how Penny Pop evolved their game, Battle Camp. So their earlier screenshots, I think these were the screenshots, the little 5 screenshots that determine whether you're going to download the game or not. The left images are the earlier versions. So you see battle rare monsters, but look how small that text is. And then later on, they evolved to dominate real-time PvP. And if you look at the game today, you're looking at the right ads. So look what they've picked up on, showing parts of the gameplay, right? You got a little 10 combo, and then you also have the really well-rendered images that are up close, and you got the little boar guy fist bumping you. These are rendered images. You never actually see this in the game, right? So they did take their art up a notch, but they're also showing off the game. So for me, these are good case studies that the render quality of the ad clearly matters. So the next topic, we're going to talk about icons. And I took a look, and I have a slide later on that I didn't include, but if you take a look at all the icons, I'd say these are a couple of the best rendered icons, and I want to see if that impacted it. And it's kind of unfair because we know Hobbit, Kingdom of Middle-earth is a top grossing game, perennial top 10, top 20 grossing game, and really great renders on the icons. And I want to see if Kabam had anything to say about that, whether they test their icons. And I do have a direct quote. The Hobbit, Kingdom of Middle-earth changes icons quite a bit. The new ones can't be assigned a specific number. For example, this icon tested better and improved retention by 11%. But just making any changes gets more people interested. So in this case, I would say art matters not just in the quality, but in the frequency and in the number of times it changes. So the volume is good. So for those of you that are fortunate enough to work on a game that has some staying power, 6 months, 9 months, think about how often you're changing the icon. I know for me, whenever I play a game or upload it, hey, there's a new splash screen, something's different. And I start looking for new things, right? Or there's a new icon. They're doing something that they care about the game as much as I do. So clearly, Kabam agrees with that. They declined on the specific numbers, how well it impacted, but they did say that the end game are, the more times it changes, sometimes even if the change isn't, for say, better, any change was good for their users. So they always saw a little bit of arrow up whenever changes in art happen. So then, in the case of Kabam, these are, again, in my opinion, these are really amazing, beautifully rendered icons. But does the quality of art in the icon matter? So I looked at these. We go back to Battle Camp, and Gordon, who's co-founder at Penny Pop, said it'd be okay if we showed off some of the early icon work. So again, I'm not going to do the icon test again, but I would have thought maybe Roar did the best, the character, top left. And so they tested all these, and surprisingly, none of these really, tested a whole lot better than the other one. So what ended up winning was what they use today. And again, they changed it from time to time. So you have the early icons to the left, later versions in the middle, and then where they are today. So in this case, I would say rather than go for the best polished, best rendered icon, it was really about the most striking image, the most memorable image. So if you're doing a game about Batman, maybe the bat symbol is more striking for people than a picture of Batman. So again, we test everything, really test everything. A little note here about the artists in the room. We care about the best image, and sometimes our opinions really matter. And that's what's taken our career into where it is today, because we care about our own opinions. For the people that you work with, for the producers and everybody else, I really encourage you to test everything, because sometimes the results will surprise you. Like personally, when I looked at the earlier image of Tapsin, I think the battle screen is just as good as the characters, but clearly people responded better to the characters, right? That's another example of a test really paying off. Okay, so Fatui, first time user experience. I'm gonna give one case study here, and this is it's a little bit of an older sample, but I thought it was a really good case study for how art impacts the initial experience for the user. So this is a game called Battle Pirates, and if you're not familiar with it, it's been a mainstay in Facebook. And what Will Harbin, the CEO, tells us is this game monetizes really well, amazingly well designed. It's designed by a guy named Paul Priest, who built the first desktop tower defense, and a lot of people consider him the father of tower defense. Cool guy. And so very, very well designed. But the problem is they were getting killed on the first day retention, right? So people are playing it and they're just leaving. The ones stick around, they pay a lot of money. And I looked at the game, and the first experience I had was this, the load screen. So it clearly shows off the gameplay. It's a doctored image based on in-game assets. And I look at this trailer. This is, by the way, they have a fantastic trailer now, but the original trailer showed no indications of people, right? It was all like one ship meets another ship, and the ships hate each other, and you go to war, right? And then right when you start the game, there's bouncing arrows. You have, this is what you're looking at. The first time you play the game, you're looking at how to build these units. So for me, there was no engagement of a human element, so I personally probably would not have stuck around. Even though had I stuck around, it probably would have been a really fun game. So Will said that, and then we look at another one of their games. It's another isometric game, but this is called War Commander. And if you look at it, immediately the load screen is different, right? This is a 2D painted character, some hero, big muscles, guns. And then when you play the game, it starts off with a little tiny story. You got this guy that comes up to you. He says, "Welcome, Commander. Your reputation precedes you." Already, you feel like you're a commander. There's some guy who's like, you know, kissing up to you. You got little guys running around. Even if whatever happens after that, you kind of already have me because I think I'm the commander. So there's a little bit of a story element. So comparing the two, both games did monetize existing users really well. But War Commander, more character focused, custom painted load screen, retained users from the initial install much better than Battle Pirates. And this is straight from the CEO. Okay, we're going to design and monetization. So hopefully our ads, our icons, our first-time user experience is really good, but what happens next? Can art really impact monetization? So, I mean, I'm of course gonna say yes, but especially for certain types of games. If you're working on a game that's free to play, my argument to you is that a free-to-play game is really a store. It's a storefront. When you're browsing through Amazon, you're looking at all these things. Your virtual good is basically digital merchandise. They're basically buying your artwork. Yes, I know stats matter. In fact, once I'm into the game and I'm playing an RPG, if I had to choose between high stats, low art, versus low stats, really good art, I would probably choose high stats. And many of you that are more competitive gamers will probably agree with me. But if you get the best of both worlds, you create a feeling of coveting whatever it is that you want, right? Whether it's World of Warcraft and that armor, or if you play like Campus Life, or you got Kim Kardashian top left. I did play Kim Kardashian and Campus Life for the speech. And yeah, but it creates a feeling of coveting the item, right? Even if there's no stats involved, or if there is stats involved. Okay, so for decoration type of games, absolutely critical. I think I remember hearing from, as far as like how like the numbers involved, I remember hearing from decoration games where there were some stat-driven virtual goods and non-stat-driven vanity purchases only. Vanity purchases made up as high as 10% of the total monetization. So it's not bad, right? For items that don't bring you any stats, purely decorative. We'll talk about Heyday later on, but I ended up buying things because it attracted butterflies, So something else happened throughout doing this speech. I was talking to Zynga to see what kind of assistance they could give me on the topic, and our friend there, who's a principal artist on Cityville, Andy, he said, we actually get a lot very involved in design meetings. So this is a little different than those of you that came from the console background. So I asked him for any kind of specific examples, and he said, well, in Farmville 2, they decided to put in a kind of a spouse feature that they believe would do really well. The spouse feature had a little home. It's another area for monetization. So you see a little picture of it. That would be a spouse character, and there's more things to do, more ways to monetize. But the problem is, where do you put your little farm home, right? And if you put it on the main map, you're going to influence monetization because you're taking up valuable screen real estate that you may buy some expensive cow that goes there. And so the artist suggested designers, why don't we put it off the map, right? So now you get the best of both worlds. So you can have everybody that monetizes and buys the crops or the special goods, but if you scroll down a little bit, you have your home there that's additional really for additional channel for revenue. So my takeaway from this, just quick show of hands, how many artists here get involved in design meetings? Do people do that? Okay, that's really good to see. So this is a little different, right? Because in the console days, we were, just told to draw things, right, or model things. So it's kind of good to see that happen. And I'll make a stronger case for the artist, the designer role later on. So now we come to branding and appeal. And for this, I'm really talking about what kind of lasting impression do you want your game to have? And this is primarily an art issue and an art problem. Okay, so we went to our friends at Get Set Games. Matt Coombe, he's the co-founder and creative director. He says, while we didn't statistically track the performance of our art, most of our games hit the #1 spot, or at least top 5 with original artwork and icons. So it was really apparent to me after talking with Matt that this guy, his name is Redford, for Mega Jump, Mega Run, Mega Jump 2, he's really the brand identity for the entire company, right? Character, brand is their company. They really put a lot of focus on it. You're looking at a lot of the, so thanks to Matt for sharing these images with us, but these are the first sketches of the Redford character. And this is during the era, I think it was 2009, when Angry Birds was coming up. So clearly this character really resounded with people and had a lot of staying power. And the fans seem to agree. #1 game downloaded in 46 countries. So you're looking at a lot of the top right images, a lot of the other Redford type of characters. And in the same, I found it interesting that the idea of the changing art, these are the different evolutions of Redford on the bottom. It seems to also have a lot of staying power with people. And App Annie shows 46 countries, #1. So what else can brands and art do? So we talk with Mind Candy. Mind Candy is kind of the Disney of UK, and is how they like to see themselves. They have a movie out. They have all their games is based on a children's game called Moshi Monsters. Moshi Monsters is similar to Club Penguin. The quote here is, 100% art matters. For us, the connection is in the eyes. We didn't compromise on the detail of character at any point, no matter how rushed. We set a bar and kept it high. So if you look at all the tiny little characters, each one of those are painstakingly designed, right? They wanted their brand to really last. And what's the payoff? This is one of my favorite slides. Bam. That's a super fan. It's like me with my Star Wars collection. So, yeah. So it's great. They have a great IP. Really whimsical stuff, right? It's the UK's Pokemon. And then we've been talking a lot about casual games. Let's switch over to CCGs. I talked with our friends at Hasbro Wizards of the Coast. We work on Magic the Gathering. And we also talked with MTG consultant, okay? Brian David Marshall. He says, I asked him if there's any meaningful statistics or numbers, what would happen if we took away the good art in the game? And the quote is, at the time Magic came out, there was just not another CCG. They just didn't exist. There's no basis for comparison. But I don't think you can launch a CCG these days without stunning visuals and fidelity in today's market. So the art director at Magic, they said they've done a lot of studies on this. They're confident that at least 50% of the people really, really care about the art, and the other 50 are more competitive and only care about the stats and the gameplay. And if you look around, the leaders, I consider Pocket Gem very much a leader in the space. If you look at where their game was, Tapsu did very well for them in 2011 compared to where they are now. Animal Voyage, full 3D. It's really graphically improved. And I'm running a little short on time, but clearly Pocket Gems agrees about the power of art. And then for Angry Birds, Plants vs. Zombies, these games, it's very hard to track specific what a brand can do for you. In the same way that everybody drinks Coke, you're very aware of it. What's the specific numbers associated with a Coke marketing campaign? I don't know. If anybody works at Coke, I'm not sure if they would even know. But clearly, there's something about the IP that travels really well, not just with domestic audience, but with Asian audience. And we come to Heyday. Heyday, by the way, I got addicted to Heyday just because of this talk. I was trying to look for signs and little things. But for Supercell, they care so much about their game, and we know we worked on a lot of stuff with them, including Heyday. But it's the tiny little ways that their art and their design team is fully integrated, right? If you look at the average game, they force a trailer on you, I just skip it. The way that Heyday does it, I don't know if you guys see this. How many people played Heyday? We have a few people. I think this lady up front has raised her hand every time, very engaged. But it's a movie ticket, right? You don't just click on a trailer that says, hey, I'm forcing you to watch this movie. You actually get a little ticket right in front of your mailbox. It's shiny, it's glowing. You click on it. Hey, it's called Night at the Movies. It's not a trailer. So I sit there and watch the trailer just so I can get the one gem. But I feel like I'm going to Night at the Movies. And if you look at that newspaper, amazing way to integrate ads into your game. For me, this is an art solution to an art problem, right? The way they present things is so detailed. It's just, in my opinion, better than almost everybody else out there. You look at the mailbox, you click on the mailbox, right? Look at that. Neither side is giving ground, the chicken or the egg. You see that for less than half a second. I play the game and check it out, right? You click on it in just half a second, this little newspaper. I was so curious, I couldn't even snap my phone fast enough. Right? But I took the image from the web, but that's what the newspaper actually says. Once you open the paper, you can advertise your goodies, you're playing Clash of Clans, but it totally doesn't feel like, it feels like I'm really integrating the game. At no point did they let me leave the game. So I think they did a really fantastic job promoting the, making you feel like you're part of the game. So we're nearing the end. The final, I guess I'm champion that art matters here. The final reason that we should care and that art should matter is because Apple and Google care. I know there's somebody in the back room probably thinking like, wow, you wait till slide 40 to say that. You could have just started and ended there. Drop the mic. But yeah, so yes, Apple and Google, they want to show off their hardware, right? Of course they want good game design, but they really want games to look good on their devices. That's their primary focus, so it should be yours too. So in summary, the way I look at it, art is much more than just the in-game assets. It's everything. It's your store, okay? It's your brand, and art can impact design. Secondly, good art can increase retention, engagement through ads, icons, and the first-time user experience. Art is subjective. Test your results. Don't just assume you feel the best painting is going to win. Art heavily impacts, it is brand and appeal to make your game memorable, and that is the key. Make the game memorable enough for you to come back in day 2, day 3, day 4. And then Apple and Google really care about it, and so should you. So thank you very much, and thanks to everybody that contributed to this talk. I think I may see a couple people in the audience, but do I have time for questions? Or? Okay, but thanks a lot for coming. Yep, any questions? Thoughts? So the question is, I mean, arguably, Flappy Birds has really memorable and striking art, but maybe not, the highest fidelity of museum quality of all concept art. I agree with that. I would say, let's put it this way. When you look at art, art alone isn't really going to generate a hit for you, right? But most of the hit games have good art. So what's the correlation? The way I look at it is good art is kind of your ticket into the dance, into the contest of a hit game, right? In the case of Flappy Bird, they went for memorable and striking. And I would say that the pipes, everybody thought of Mario. And Mario had really good art. And we really remember those pipes, So they kind of tapped into something. I don't know why Nintendo doesn't have an issue with it, but they tapped into something that resounded with us, and it's just so easy to play, right? I don't know how they topped the charts, and we know it wasn't because of the art, but there you have it, right? But if you had that type of art on something like Clash of Clans, no way. Just wouldn't work, right? I would put games like Minecraft in that category. I mean, Minecraft, it's not about the art, right? It's not about the art. 2048, top downloaded game, not about the art. So some games are really not about the art. But decoration games, you can't get away with it. Yes? One more question?
A lot of the games that are targeted more towards mid-core audiences have more of a propensity to go for the games that are kind of more rendered and more the kind of prototypical style we would see in concept art and more AAA games. So given that kind of the more casual audience is more okay with stuff like Angry Birds and sort of or Flappy Bird, like the more lowbrow, not to be pretentious, do you see that as being something that would evolve? That as gamers, people who wouldn't typically game, are getting more accustomed to games? Do you think they're going to start demanding more in terms of the technical proficiency of the art that they're subjected to?
Okay, so the question is, do I think the gamer is going to evolve, or is the art going to evolve?
Do you think the gamer is going to evolve?
Well,
the kind of moms that were
absolutely.
playing Bejeweled in 1998 or whatever. Do you think they're going to start looking for more like what the mid-core audience is looking for?
I don't know about that. It's the gameplay is so different. I mean, for art itself, absolutely, right? I mean, the only reason that I bought a PS4 is because the graphics, it can render more. There's no specific new design that comes with PS4, right? It's just for I mean, it's just for the better graphics, right? And I think in mobile gaming, you're seeing more 3D, right? If you look at a game like Fates Forever, I mean, it's basically doing an awesome MOBA right there on an iPad, right? Again, I'm using a MOBA title. But if you look at the more casual titles, the best example, I think, would be Farmville 1 to Farmville 2. What's the main difference, right? Farmville 1, all the plants are static. The wheat, just, right? Farmville 2, that's cool, right? Little tiny things like that, and I think even the moms would really care about that, right? What your animals are doing in your farm, all the little details. So I wouldn't say that, some drawings are harder to do and higher skill level, but it's the amount of care you take in the simple IPs, right? Even Angry Birds in its own way, right? There's very good frame rates, bouncy, very expressive when they fly through the air, right? It's the little ways that they're treated even to a casual audience. So I hope that answers your question. So thanks a lot, you guys. Appreciate it.